Why on earth does the entire college football world hate Texas Tech right now? Everybody is so misguided, and the Red Raiders have become a true scapegoat. I'm going to tell you exactly what is going on in this video here today. Welcome into Open for Business. This is a Big 12 podcast, and this is where the Big 12 just means more. I'm your host, John Kurtz. Thank you for tuning in. Please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like the video. Thanks for fitting me into your schedule today. If you're here for the live show, I got to get it in before the games tonight, right? I'm not going to interrupt a college football playoff semifinal just because we have to talk about this. But I do have to talk about this, my friends. I have been burning on this all week, and we have more to get to. I'm going to tell you about Bear Bachmeier coming back to BYU, what that means for the Cougars. Are they a legitimate Big 12 title threat with the roster that they have coming back? But I tell you what, I've watched all week as the transfer portal craziness continues to churn at the reactions to what Texas Tech is doing, and it is just wild. Now, let me set this part of the table up, okay? What I'm about to discuss here is how people are handling Texas Tech from a national standpoint, not how Big 12 fans are dealing with Texas Tech, because those are two very, very different things. Two very different things. If you're a Big 12 fan and you're upset about what Texas Tech is doing because they took your favorite player, I've seen the battle going on between like Texas Tech burners and K-State burners all week over Austin Romaine. If you're upset about that, like I do understand where your feelings are coming from. You're competing in the same league. It sucks to lose your player directly to that team. Okay. Texas Tech is generally out-resourcing everybody in the conference except for BYU. That's going to get fans a little bit upset if you're in the same conference. Like, I get it. Okay, I'm not endorsing the way some people have acted about it online, but I do understand that. The thing that's crazy is from a national standpoint, Texas Tech is just turning into a total scapegoat. Okay, because look, I mean, the portal is absolutely bonkers right now. I am not here to tell you otherwise. It's totally nuts. And everybody who comes to you and says, hey, the sport's out of control, is this sustainable? I mean, I can't really disagree or say that these are bad questions being asked. Like, I understand why people are where they are with this stuff. The DeMond Williams story, if you have seen that with what's going on at Washington, where he signs a deal to come back to Washington for like $4 million a year, and then a couple days later, suddenly he's trying to get into the portal. Washington won't let him, but it sounds like LSU lured him into the portal. You know, well, by the way, Sam Leavitt, who was supposed to be like the $6 or $7 million man, is at a basketball game with Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's just, yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. And if you're asking, is there going to be donor fatigue and will people be able to keep this up? And these are valid, legitimate questions, because the money has not been corralled or curtailed at all by the College Sports Commission. It doesn't seem like it's going to be. There are so many storylines going on right now. I mean, you have Oklahoma State bringing the entire North Texas roster up I-35 with them. Penn State has done the same thing to Iowa State's roster. It's just totally up and moved itself into Happy Valley. Texas has not had seemingly a good couple of days in the portal. Lane Kiffin failed at trying to raid Ole Miss while they're going to play a national championship game again, or a national semifinal again, a part of why the sport does feel in some ways pretty broken right now, because you've got teams preparing for the college football playoff and dealing with all this craziness at the same time. Tampering allegations while Ole Miss coaches are working for LSU but still in the Ole Miss building. And I'm just, yeah, there's a lot that's really dumb about what's going on right now, okay? And Texas Tech is one of the big storylines right now, because Tech and Indiana have the two best portal classes in the country. It depends on where you look specifically, but I think Texas Tech, you could say a consensus top 3 class at worst right now, the transfer portal. And what is Tech doing? Very much the same thing that they did last year. Go look at the defensive line prospects that they're bringing in. They're bringing in a bunch of great edge players. They have the number 1 defensive tackle in the portal, committed and signed. They've got some great receivers, really good offensive weapons coming. By the way, they kept the trio of running backs, including Joyner, the USC kid who didn't play. So there's going to be a ton of weapons. Terrence Carter is coming back. And, oh, yeah, they've got arguably the best quarterback in the portal, too, in Brendan Sorsby. So, like, Tech's building a championship, certainly a Big 12 championship caliber roster again. I get it. I know they didn't score a point against Oregon. We can have that discussion, whether it's a national championship caliber roster. They are going for it. And now, the thing that I mentioned the other night that I think is really shaking this up, and I will stand by this, Cam Coleman visited, and I saw the pictures going around Twitter of this, of him at a steakhouse in Lubbock. Cam Coleman, number one offensive weapon, certainly in the portal. Outside of quarterback, I mean, this is like the biggest prize in the portal. Stud receiver from Auburn, Texas A&M, USC, Alabama, also after him. Like, this is the guy this year that everybody's really after. And Tech legitimately got a visit, which I was surprised by when I saw the initial visit list come out. So, point being, like, Texas Tech is totally on the radar once again in portal season, completely there. Everybody is watching and paying attention to this. But what I don't get and what feels so misguided and frustrating, even for me, like, I'm not a Tech fan. Obviously, I'm a Big 12 fan, and I'm just someone who loves the sport and has plenty of concern about where the sport's at right now. I mean, you guys hear me rail about that all the time. But why are we ascribing all of that blame to Texas Tech? Okay, I'm going to show you a couple tweets here that I think illustrate what I'm talking about. Now, this is from former Kansas City Chief, Chase Daniel, all right? But Chase Daniel reacting to the news that Brendan Sorsby is getting $5 million from Texas Tech. $5 million a year is absolutely ludicrous. Cody Campbell will single-handedly buy Tech a national title eventually. Some of this is about tone, but I think you can just tell by the tone there. It's like, hey, it's almost like Texas Tech's like cheating and doing, you're just going to buy a national championship. I mean, you see this over and over again. Buy a national championship. Buy a national championship. Here's another example of it. From College Football Nerds. Now, I'll say these guys, no secret, they're certainly partial to the SEC, but this is, again, reacting to the $5 million number for Brendan Sorsby. Since nobody seems to bother asking this question, how in the world is Texas Tech justifying these NIL deals to the clearinghouse? Remember, the House settlement mandated that NIL deals must be for market endorsement value now. I'm guessing Texas Tech is daring the CSC to act. Now, we can talk about that part specifically. Yes, I think that's absolutely what Texas Tech is doing. But why is it only in response to this? Like, this is my question. Why is it Texas Tech? Why is it not, hey, is LSU just asking or just daring the CSC to act by paying Sam Leavitt potentially $6 or $7 million? Or at least comparable money, right? I mean, Drew Mestamaker's making almost $4 million to go to Oklahoma State. Are we going to question Oklahoma State there? Like, I don't. There are other schools doing the same thing. Indiana is spending a ton of money. The story that's out there right now is about Mark Cuban stepping up to donate more money to Indiana football. Like, do we think like LSU isn't spending the same amount of money as Texas Tech? Well, Oregon absolutely spent a similar amount of money on its roster this year that beat Texas Tech in a college football playoff. But it's like old news with Oregon. They got this sort of treatment 15, 20 years ago because of Phil Knight. Now everybody has moved on to Texas Tech. And it's just, to me, so frustrating that Tech has become the poster child of all the sport problems in the sport right now, because I think that's exactly what's happening. Texas Tech has become the poster child for everything wrong with the sport just because they're new to the party here. Everybody's more used to seeing LSU toward the top. Everybody's more used to seeing Miami toward the top, Oregon, all these other schools. They're spending the same amount of money, guys. Like Miami, Oregon, LSU, these schools, two of whom I just rattled off, are in the Final Four right now. They are spending at the same type of rate that the Texas Tech Red Raiders are. So why does Tech have to be the scapegoat and the poster child for all the problems? Nobody can get it through their brain that like Texas Tech might actually be putting together a really nice operation outside of just throwing a bunch of money at this thing. Like, I think that's the other part that's unfair about saying Texas Tech is trying to buy a national championship with the insinuation that they're just taking blank checks and handing them to players. It takes a lot more than that. And here's a tweet that understands or that will underscore what I'm seeing on that front that's frustrating to me. Pete Thamel's talking about Brendan Sorsby giving credit to, the experience that he had at Texas Tech and saying he was blown away by the facilities and the culture that they have there. And so Stephen Godfrey and a lot of people had, if you go look at the quotes to this tweet, it's all people being like, just say it was the money. Just say it was the money. And it's like, dude, you think he wouldn't have gotten Brendan Sorsby $5 million from LSU had he gone to LSU? Do we think the money was any different? This is not like, hey, he's going to Texas Tech just for the money. He can get that kind of money at a bunch of different places. But it's not disingenuous to say that Texas Tech has great facilities, because they absolutely do. And if the money that you're going to make personally is equal, now you start looking at the other stuff that's going on in the program. The culture, that matters. Do you want to go play in, for Sorsby's case, Lane Kiffin culture right now? You want to be in Lane land where he's trying to just backstab his former school and pull all those coaches away there, and the whole aura and vibe and the hot yoga stuff and just the tweets, everything going on with Lane Yoga. I have nothing against hot yoga, by the way. I just call him Lane Yoga. Lane Kiffin, I got nothing against hot yoga. But the circus that surrounds him right now, you want to be a part of that culture, or you want to be a part of Texas Tech and Joey McGuire? And James Blanchard is a very good GM. They've had a strategy here with this. They've executed it. Go beef up the lines and start there, and it's been great. And they have proof of concept now. They have momentum. Texas Tech has a lot to sell other than just this money, but what they have is table stakes money to compete with the top schools in the sport right now. And it's just broken people's brains. It's just broken people's brains. And the way they get treated is so unfair and silly. And look, Tech fans, if I were you, I would just embrace it, become a villain. That's fine. But I just get frustrated seeing people talk about them like this. We have a system in college football that is broken. I will give that to you. Now, it's also, in a way, made the sport more interesting. There's more content around the sport. There's more viewership to the sport than ever. I'm not saying it's all bad, but there are parts of it that are broken. Don't make Texas Tech like the caricature of that. It's like people feel like, well, college sports is a mess, and anytime we're going to write this article or talk about it, we just slap a picture of Cody Campbell up there and call it good. Cody Campbell with an oil rig or something, and say, hey, there's all the problems that we have in college football. It's this. No. Texas Tech is just taking advantage of the system that's been put in place and set up, which is the same thing, by the way, that SEC programs and big-time Big Ten programs have done for decades. They're just flexing their biggest advantages as hard as they possibly can. As hard as they possibly can. For those other schools, it's the tradition, it's the titles, it might be location if you're a place like Miami. Schools throughout history have always done this, and it's been applauded, that we're gonna flex the fact that, hey, back in World War II time or World War I time, we took football more seriously than everybody else, so we have this crazy tradition. We're just gonna flex that until the end of time. Well, it's fine for them to do it, but when Texas Tech says, hey, our advantage is that we've got a bunch of oil money, and we're gonna use it now because money is the thing, that's the currency, that's what we do now. And it'll give us table stakes to compete with the best brands out there who, oh, by the way, are spending the same amount of money. That's what's happening here, and yet people just lose their minds over Texas Tech, and they can't fathom it. They can't stand it. Indiana spending Mark Cuban's money is a cutesy story. That's look at Fernando Mendoza. He gives these funny interviews. And look, I like Indiana. I like Fernando Mendoza. But it's a cuter story to be like, oh, Indiana, that's great. But Texas Tech, whoa, Texas Tech, look at the money. It's just this oil money and Cody Campbell. People lose their minds, man. People lose their minds. If you're upset about where the sport's at, don't blame Texas Tech. Here's the other thing that's happening. The SEC is now 2-5 in the 12-team playoff since we entered this era. They are on the verge of going a third straight year without even playing for a national championship if Ole Miss loses tonight. The SEC needs a scapegoat. The SEC wants to say, hey, this is bad. Look at Texas. This is not fair. We used to run this sport, and now you're here trying to crash the party by competing with us. This is stupid and not fair. So the SEC wants to make Texas Tech a scapegoat here. If you're upset about where the sport's at, what's going on with everything, blame decades of poor NCAA leadership that's gotten us here. Blame the NCAA never wanting to budge on like some common sense, like, hey, let the players sign autographs and make money from it. Hey, let the player transfer if there's a coaching change. You know what I mean? Just some common sense things that could have happened. Instead, you didn't. You got sued into oblivion. Now there's nothing protecting anything, and you've got the worst setup that you could really possibly have. Don't blame Texas Tech. Cody Campbell didn't do that. Joey McGuire didn't do that. Okay? Brendan Sorsby didn't do that. They're just taking advantage of the system as it is now, like everybody is trying to. But Tech's doing it better than a lot of people can, and it has caused them to see their heads explode. Look, for those of you who are watching this as a clip, if you want more on this, you're curious about how exactly Texas Tech's getting one over on Texas in the portal, click this video right now to see more.